welcome to this review of my Lemokey L5 HE keyboard. Lemokey is the gaming brand of Keychron, and it was they that sent this keyboard to me. I've reviewed several Keychrons already, and so far I've always been quite impressed, to the point where I determined the V6 to be one of the best starter keyboards you can get. So this thing has quite a lot to live up to. Now, Keychron makes several keyboard lines, so to speak, from budget to premium, and so far I've been consistently impressed with their quality as well as their pricing, which is generally very reasonable. This Lemokey is intended to be something a bit more out of the ordinary though, a step above their flagship Q series. So, being curious, I naturally agreed to do this review. Plus, it comes with a new switch technology, and I'm always up for reviewing that. So essentially, this Lemokey L5 is supposed to be an upgraded version of their Q1 HE model, which is from their premium line. The Q1 is a Hall effect keyboard which are rated as excellent despite its significant price tag, and this L5 has been optimized in a few ways, particularly in the gaming department, which makes sense of course considering Lemokey is their gaming brand. Note that these are not the default keycaps for this model, they are all keys metal keycaps, and I simply couldn't be asked to remove them and stick back the standard keycaps on this board just for this scene. Like the Q series, the L5's case is made out of CNC'd aluminium, but instead of the more classic reserved brick shape of the Q1, the L5 has an embellishment at the back in the shape of this wedge thing sitting below a light bar. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't really like the look of this shape myself, and the light bar both faces away from you and it's extremely dim. This is the brightest setting that it has. In fact, the RGB on the main board is quite dim as well, so as far as the back goes, I don't think this adds anything really. That said, the build quality itself is excellent. It's heavy as a brick at 1.85 kilos, or in imperial cask units 0.04413 beer firkins, which is quite a lot at this size, and it feels as tight as a drum. Considering the usual standard of build quality of Keychron, I think this will hold up well. Of course, it comes with a million billion layers of foam and stuff for sound absorption, a common find in contactless keyboards nowadays, as most of them don't sound that good. You'll see the effect in the typing demonstration at the end of this video, but suffice it to say that typing sound isn't usually what you get a high-end linear keyboard like this for. Now, Keychron are one of the few brands to regularly employ spherical keycaps on their boards, though they do also do several models of cylindrical ones, which is what these ones are. I always really like their caps, and these are no exception. They're double-shot PBT, die-sub for the ISO version apparently, with very strong print thickness consistency, a simple font, which is basically a copy of Cherry's, and the print is in the correct upper left corner for a change. So that's all good, very nice quality here. The switches are called Lemokey Ultra-Fast Lime Magnetic, and I had to get this confirmed with the manufacturer, but despite being called L5 HE, this isn't actually a Hall effect keyboard. It's TMR based, which is also a magnet-based sensing method, but it's completely different from the Hall effect. I guess they just called it HE because otherwise people wouldn't think this was a magnetic keyboard or something. Now, TMR is a technology I haven't reviewed on the channel before, and so I'm happy to tell you about it. A quick recap of HE, the Hall effect is when you use magnets to create a transverse voltage across a semiconductor by bending electrons off their path. This voltage is measurable and dependent on a fixed magnet's relative position to the semiconductor, so these switches can be used in an analog way. TMR instead stands for tunnel magnetoresistance, which occurs in a junction consisting of two ferromagnets separated by a thin insulator, and it exploits the effect of magneto-rotationally dependent quantum tunneling. I've covered this phenomenon in a teardown video earlier this week. Check it out if you're interested in how it works. The switches are POM based with a 3.5mm throw, and they're light linears with a preload of 30 grams and a 55 gram bottom out force, so pretty typical for a modern contactless switch, which all seem to go for a similar theme. The biggest difference here, perhaps, is that it has a resolution that's 10 times higher than most HE switches at 0.01mm, which is quite impressive. So the switches can detect absolutely minute movements with high accuracy, apparently. It's also got 8 kHz polling rate and all the gaming tricks as well, as you would expect of a magnetic keyboard, so basically it's state of the art. Note that despite being hot swappable, the fact that this uses TMR switches means that the keyboard is not compatible with other magnetic switches such as Keychron Jades. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I can genuinely feel a difference in micrometer level distances, that would just be silly, so you'll have to take the manufacturer's word for it that it's got a better performance in this regard. What I will say is that they absolutely measure up to the high standard of Hall effect switches smoothness-wise. They are excellent and feel very nice. I love light linear contactless switches, and these do very well, definitely at least on par with other options on the market feels-wise. It's laid out as a compact 75% form factor, which makes sense considering it's targeted at gamers who frequently forego the numpad. That factor alone puts it behind the Q10 for me, which is a full-size beast and still my favorite Keychron keyboard so far. But I know 75% are really popular nowadays, so I understand the idea. You know, to each their own. Knowing Keychron's massive catalogue, maybe they'll eventually make a full-size version of this anyway. Now, the strangest thing about it, in my opinion at least, is the price. As I mentioned, it's basically an upgraded version of the Q1 HE keyboard. Yet that keyboard is $240, while this one is only $210. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. I mean, are these boards in competition with each other or something? I'm so confused. In any case, I guess it's good for the customer. Premium aluminium cased contactless boards like this tend to go for $200+, so this is a fair price for a cutting edge one in terms of switching technology. Now, like I said, I can't really verify just how much this new gaming stuff actually matters in practice. You know, I just play normal games, but I'd love to hear some opinions from people who play games like Osu, where optimum performance can really make a big difference. Overall, I'm quite happy with this keyboard really. It performs well, even if it is too small for my liking, and it looks decent from the front, if you don't mind the weak source RGB, and it's very well made. There's currently a real rush to get the best possible performance out of gaming keyboards, so much so that Hall effect is no longer considered to be the best possible gear, which kind of blows my mind to be honest, but hey, keyboard innovation is always cool. I'm eternally on the lookout for the next new and cool technology after all. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.